one of the reasons why you're one of my favorite songwriters, and I really wanted to chat with you about this. I feel like you take these songs, and they're modern songs. They're relevant to now. They resonate with people today, but they have such a vintage feel to the song. Um, I'd like
Okay.
to hear you talk about that because I know that has to be a strategy, somewhat, right?
I think you're giving me a little too much credit
So
there,
it's more
bossy.
organic than that.
Well,
No,
an
I
old
mean,
soul.
no, I mean, I definitely I grew up, my parents were, I was kind of born as a surprise. My parents were in their mid to late 40s when I was born. And so that probably must have some, I know a lot of people that grew up in the Depression, and so maybe there's some of that. And, my siblings are boomers, but I'm actually more kind of what's the one after the boomers? Gen X or
I
whatever.
have no
No,
idea.
anyway, that doesn't matter. But the sensibilities and the stuff that I would really listen to a lot, and particularly being a songwriter, the Guy Clarks, and they have all that same sensibility, I think,
Yeah.
So maybe that's where it comes from. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I
I've
just
never really considered it, but it's not. I'll just say this: it's not really a strategy, I wouldn't say, but I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it's just blind ass luck, I guess.
well, it's definitely, I feel, as your fan, I think it's who you are. I love it. You talked about the Gunfighter ballad earlier that we shared, and that Marty
Yeah.
Robbins feel. Man, there's so much of that in your music. Like, you can go in and listen, and if you're a fan of a different era of country music, you can kind of pick apart those artists that you're kind of channeling, like the Marty Robbins in that song. Like, there's some Johnny
Yeah.
Cash vibes here and there, and the Marty Stewart I pick up a lot of times in your music, and George Strait from time to time. Like, and that's what I mean by like that vintage feel to your music. Like, it means a lot to people now, but it resonates to a past era of music, I feel. And I feel like that's a
I will
tough
take
thing to
that as a high
balance.
compliment.
Well, it's
I
meant
will
as
take that
one.
as a
It
high
really
compliment.
truly is. And a lot of times when I try to compliment it, it can come off as something other than that. So I hope it does. I love the music. I love the songwriting, and I'm just stoked to have you here. I'm gonna get back to the not songwriter to your left, though, who keeps saying she's not a songwriter, because I want to chat with you. You have this partnership with Max, but you had a songwriting partnership with Andy prior to him, and
Yes.
I know you brought a lot to that table as well. You may not agree to that, but I'd love to hear how that relationship musically worked for you as a songwriter as well.
I mean, the difference is, and I think when I actually started writing songs, I had gone through a divorce, and I listened to a lot of Merle Haggard, and I mean, I was obsessed with Merle Haggard. I bought every single just random truck stop tape. I think I still had a tape player back then, or at least CD. And so I really felt like I had for the first time something to say, I guess. And then uh Andy Kay, I met her. She's from East Texas as well. She's from Wills Point and Edgewood. I know you know where that is. And so we became best friends really fast. And still I talk to her every day. Um, but I really don't even know. We started playing in different bands together, and then we would end up on the couch, and we actually started kind of writing just I wouldn't say man hating songs, but I think that was the theme starting out.
Nothing wrong
And
with
then
that.
they became a they became a little more serious, but not really. But I think that was kind of how it all started out. We both, had been in terrible relationships, and which Max always says, find a terrible relationship and you'll get a couple records out of that.
Stay with it as long as you can. And
Yep.
get a lot of material.
And she's very, we have the same taste and and she's just got the most amazing voice. And I don't know, I could say, sing this, and she would sing it just exactly the way I was hearing it. And I started playing guitar at that point, and she did too. And I don't know, it worked. I've never really had that happen again. I mean, there are people that I don't know if you know Courtney Patton.
Of course, yes.
I feel that way about her. I think she's got the same kind of voice to me that Andy Kay has, and there's something about it that just I love, and it makes me want to write, I guess. Not and
I understand.
You're a
totally
boy.
get
It's hard.
I completely understand. But also it was a time in your life when you had the time to take a whole day and just sit and write a song.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything else going on. My
Logan,
son was in
Logan,
school
yeah,
every
Logan would be
day,
at
and
school, so y'all could just sit.
Well, not only that, but it's hard to find success in music with joy.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's a thing. But I mean, there's nothing better than a really great love song too, you know, and it's just, they're the hardest to write. And I think I'm sure you've talked to a lot of people about it. It's just, they're hard.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you're being cheesy or.
And I would say it's easy. It's easy to write a love song. It's hard to write a unique love song, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Right.
So
it's
hard to say something the same way in a different way.
Yes.
Or say the same thing in a different way, rather. Yeah.
Well, like Bruce Robinson told me, I was bemoaning this fact. I was like, man, he was like, listen, it's all been said. We just hadn't all had a chance to say it.
That's right.
And so, yeah, you're looking for some twist that's been talked about since man first beat on a log and blew in a shell. You know, I mean, we've been saying the same thing about love. A lot of people have tried it.
And then a melody line is the same way. You think, oh my gosh, this is so good. And then you play it and you're like, wait a minute. This sounds just like.
It's a Burt Bacharach song.
Yep. I love that you're talking about that, because the second song we're playing today is Circle, which I believe was y'all's first duo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Single.
Yeah.
And so,
and it is a love song.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk about it yet, but like that right there is leading towards us talking about that, because I feel like you guys said the same thing in a different way with that song. So let's
awesome.
Let's keep that right there at the forefront until we can talk about that. But yeah, man, I'm just I told you earlier, huge fan of Blacktop Gypsy, a huge fan of yours and Andy Kay. I'm hoping someday I'll get to talk with Andy Kay as well on the show. Just been huge fans of yours for over 10 years.
She's got a great story.
Yeah.
She's got an incredible story.
I know she does.
I don't know if you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No. I know.
Been through it.
And speaking of Courtney, I'm finally going to have her on the show coming up too. I've been trying to get her for an interview for over 10 years, and I'm just stoked that we finally get to chat with Courtney. She's so incredible as well.
She's a busy girl.
She is, and that's the hard part. Like, all of y'all are down to do interviews. It's just really trying to find a date that works. Man, I get it. Believe me. Let's talk a little bit about record producing as well, because you got Blind Nello Records, right? And I don't think I've found an interview where you've chatted about this. What was the genesis for this idea?
So I'm actually only a member of the Blind Nello Records organization. So are you familiar with our friend Mark David Manders?
Of course, yeah.
So Mark, this is his record label, right? I mean, He started this when he was putting out projects, and he would get kind of rejection from people that would say, and this is early in the Americana days. We're talking late 90s, early 2000s. And so he'd get this pushback from either radio stations or, distributors or whatever. Like, well, what label are you on? He's like, I don't have a label. We're like, well, you got to have a label. And this was that period where the do-it-yourself thing really started. You didn't have to have a label, as it turns out. Mm-hmm. But so that he had something to say, he came up with this Blind Nello Records, which if you've ever played dominoes, particularly when you play 42, if you go Blind Nello, if you go Nello, you're going to bet that you lose every hand.
Yeah.
Okay. You look at your dominoes and you're like, man, these are terrible. I bet I can play these in such a way that I lose every hand. Okay. And so you bet a mark that you're going to. Mark took it a step further. There's something that's called Blind Nello. You don't even look at your dominoes, and you say, I'm going Blind Nello. I'm going to lose every hand. And his bass player, Russ Sherfield, said, man, that is a great metaphor for what we're trying to do here.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's a great story. And so Mark started this little label, and it was literally a label that he stuck on the CDs that he was sending out to, pick whatever. And it just kind of became fun. And then he asked me if I wanted to be on it. And then after that was Houston Marchman, and then Kevin Deal, and then finally Blacktop Gypsy did a record with us. Our motto is the Blind Nello Records. We don't do anything for you, but we won't do anything to you. It did actually wind up having some gravitas because we leveraged it and got a distribution deal with Steve Earle's Vanity label. He had E Squared Records, which was distributed by Sony. And man, we were a real live. I mean, all we did was everybody would put the label on it and put the UPC and then ship it to the distributor. But man, you could really sell records and actually make money at $12 a piece or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's where it all came from.
Yeah, I had to hear the story because I've seen other interviews and there's nothing out there on it. I was like, it's pretty slick.
We still do one show. We do one show a year. Yeah. We do a Christmas show in McKinney, Texas. Mm-hmm. Houston, Mark, Heather, and Kevin Deal, and it's just a ton of fun, and it's so ridiculous.
It's the Blind Nello Company Christmas Party.
It's the Blind Nello Records Company Christmas Party, and it is so ridiculous.
See, I'm not a domino. I've never really played dominoes since I've been out of the military. I played a little bit in the Navy, but I played a lot of spades, and they have the same thing in spades.
It's the same game.
Yeah,
it's
nil and blind nil in spades. So like you would literally bid blind nil, and if you without seeing your cards, and if you didn't pull a book, then you would get double the points, and that's how you could catch up in the game. But if you did pull a book, then you would take double the points, and then you're kind of screwed, right?
So. Right, then you're screwed. And I think that whole catching up in the game is also an element of the name of the label.
Love it. Yeah, I love it.
Shirts. We have shirts and everything.
Yeah. See, that means it's legitimate at that point, right? If you have shirts and everything, that makes it a legitimate enterprise.
It's legit, man.
Yeah.